What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is the main event deep dive for UFC 265. And the main event we are breaking down is Derrick Lewis going against Cyril Gane. A very interesting fight here on UFC 265. A very good card. In a main event, I am looking forward to a fan favorite and Derrick Lewis. Everybody loves Derrick Lewis. How can you not? And a young up and comer, young in terms of heavyweight, 31 years old, a very talented Cyril Gane. I'm really looking forward to this matchup. I'm really looking forward to break it down. And I am here with my Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, what is up? Are you looking forward to this card? And are you looking forward to this main event as well?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. I've always looked forward to Derrick Lewis fights. And Gane as well. Gane's a really exciting prospect who's not really a prospect anymore. Now he's fighting for the interim championship here. So we got experience against youth here. We got power against finesse. We got America against France. It's going to be an interesting one, man. I'm looking forward to getting into this fight, getting into the stats with you. It's going to be a pretty good main event.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it as well. Before I get into the video, if you guys can leave a like, also subscribe if you have not yet to the channel so you're not miss out on all the other content throughout the week. My full card breakdown and predictions will be out early Tuesday morning. I will be going live Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time as well, and also Saturday, 1 hour prior to the prelims. I will put the link to Stat Diggers in the description below. Go check it out. It's a show on Pub Sports Radio. We go live every Sunday night, 7:15 p.m. Eastern time. We do basically what we're doing here, more in a condensed version and for every single fight on the card. So if you guys have not checked that out, go check it out. The link is in the description below. All right, so Uncle Weezy, let's start here, starting with the tail of the tape. So we have Derrick Lewis going against Cyril Gane. We have Derrick Lewis, who is 36 years old, 6'3", 79-inch reach, going against Cyril Gane, who is 31 years old, 6'4", 81-inch reach. So Gane is going to have a 2-inch reach advantage, and he's also going to have a 1-inch height advantage as well. And he will be 5 years younger than Derrick Lewis. So in terms of the last couple fights between the two, Derrick Lewis is 4-1 in his last 5 fights, had a knockout loss to Junior Dos Santos, had a split decision win over Blagoy Ivanov, had a unanimous decision win against Ilir Latifi, a knockout win over Alexei Oleinik, and just recently a knockout win over Curtis Blades. As far as Cyril Gane, of course, he is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He is undefeated. He beat Dontel Mays by submission. He beat Tanner Boser by decision, knocked out Junior Dos Santos, and beat Jairzinho Rozenstruik by decision, as well as Alexander Volkov by decision just as of late. So, Uncle Weezy, let's get into the stats here.
Yeah, let's do it. You already covered the last 5 in the tail of the tape here. Not huge advantages there either way. I mean, Gane's 5 years younger. That makes a difference, but 36, not old at heavyweight by any stretch of the imagination. Where there is a big difference here is in the pro experience. Cyril Gane still has only been a pro for less than 3 years, which is incredible. To get a title shot in the UFC when only being a pro for 3 years and after having only 9 professional fights is quite a feat. But he is at an experience disadvantage here, just like he was in the Volkov fight, where Derrick Lewis has got 33 professional fights to Gane's 9. So we're talking about a 24 fight difference. We're talking about 170 more minutes in the pro cage and about 8 more years as a pro for Derrick Lewis. And then we talk about UFC experience. Man, 21 UFC fights for Derrick Lewis already, while there's only 6 for Gane, and about over 100 more minutes in the UFC cage for Derrick Lewis. So, yeah, man, while Gane is young, while he's extremely athletic and moves really well and is a great striker, Derrick Lewis has got a lot of experience at the UFC level. He is the UFC heavyweight leader in knockouts with 12 wins by knockout. And he brings a very interesting, unique skill set in just being a very hard hitter with absolutely brute strength, who, when he hits you, you lose time. Like this guy, in his knockdowns in the UFC, which I believe there's 7 of them, 6 of them resulted in immediate ends to fights. Only Marcin Tybura was knocked down twice. you know. So he actually got up from a knockdown, and then his night was ended shortly thereafter with another knockdown. So, you know, some people get knockdowns and it doesn't end the fight. You know, you get a knockdown from Derrick Lewis and might end your life. You know, the guy has fight changing power, you know. So this is finesse against power. And we look at the finish stats, and it tells us the same thing here. You know, we look at Derrick Lewis has got 25 wins in his professional career, and 80% of them are by knockout, man. This guy's got 20 wins by knockout in his career, 4% by sub, which I think is hilarious. I'd love to see Derrick Lewis get a submission. Wouldn't that be? I mean, I'd just laugh. I'd be like, who the hell did Derrick Lewis sub? I gotta look that up. But anyway, yeah, 80% of his pro wins by knockout, 4% by sub. So 21 of his 25 wins coming inside the distance. And for Gane, he's really kind of like an equal opportunity winner. He's got a third of his wins by submission, a third of his wins by KO, and a third of his wins by decision. So, you know, he can finish you anyway. He can win anyway. He is pretty diverse for being new to the sport. And Cyril Gane has never lost, so we don't have any finish stats there. But in Derrick Lewis's 7 losses, he's been finished in 5 of them, and he's been finished in all 5 of his losses in the UFC have come inside the distance. So in terms of this guy, you know, in the UFC, he's been finished every time that he's lost. So yeah, youth advantage for Gane, a little bit of a reach advantage for Gane, big experience advantage for Derrick Lewis. And we got a big power advantage for Derrick Lewis. But also, you know, Derrick Lewis does find the door especially in the UFC when he does lose.
Yeah, that's actually interesting that you mentioned it, because I do see that he has a couple losses by decision. But yeah, all of his UFC losses are inside the distance, which, you know, kind of makes it interesting in terms of the fight doesn't go to decision or the fight goes to decision, which we will talk on about later. But yeah, maybe Gane can put him away. And I don't really look at Gane as like, you know, some murderous power puncher. He's not really somebody that's going to go out there and, you know, really look for that finish. If the finish comes to him, he's one of those guys, you know. Not, you know, a ton of power in terms of, you know, for a heavyweight, but yeah, I mean, seeing Derrick Lewis, you know, get it finished every single time in the UFC that he's lost, could be a potential finish spot for Gane, or like a potential violence bet as well. But yeah, the experience is crazy, man. I mean, Cyril Gane coming in, and you talked about it, a 2-year, 11-month length of his pro career, and he is fighting for an interim title. I mean, that just shows you how special this guy is, how good this guy is, and, you know, what the UFC really thinks of this guy. So yeah, that's insane to really look at and take into consideration there. But yeah, as far as the finish stats, we know that Derrick Lewis, he's a finisher. He hits hard, one of the hardest hitters in the heavyweight division, up there with Francis Ngannou. He can put anybody's lights out on any given night, and that's kind of what makes this fight so interesting. So I'm curious to see the striking and grappling stats, Uncle Weezy.
Absolutely. Yeah, the striking and grappling stats are definitely interesting with these guys, you know. So we'll start with striking here. We got Derrick Lewis landing 2.59 significant strikes out of 5.13 offered, 50% accuracy. And we'll see Gane throwing way more volume as he lands as many significant strikes per minute as Derrick Lewis throws at 5.13 exactly. But Gane is throwing 9.41 significant strikes per minute, while Lewis is only throwing 5.13. So we see that Gane is going to be the much busier striker here, obviously. And then when we look at the power numbers, we see something very non-surprising as well, in that, you know, Derrick Lewis is knocking people down on over 1% of the significant strikes that he lands. He's getting a 1.35 knockdowns per total significant strikes land percentage for 0.52 knockdowns per 15 minutes. And as I mentioned earlier, if he knocks you down, the fight's basically over. You're not getting up. And Gane's had a little bit of power too. 470 total significant strikes landed, and he has 2 knockdowns in the UFC. So definitely somebody that can hurt you as well. 0.33 knockdowns per 15 minutes. If we look at the defensive numbers, we see that Lewis is landing 2.59, but only absorbing 2.16. And Lewis is actually out-voluming his opponents, as Lewis throws 5.13 significant strikes per minute, and his opponents only throw 3.92. but only a 45% striking defense from Lewis, so not particularly gifted on the defensive side, but he does absorb less than he throws. But on the Gane side, this dude is landing 5.13 significant strikes per minute and only absorbing 2.6. So he's basically out landing his opponents at a 2-to-1 clip. Very, very impressive to have that kind of a ratio at the heavyweight division. And then he's out voluming his opponents too, as he throws 9.41 and his opponents only throw 7.06. So much busier than his opponents. And then not only that, a 63% striking defense from Gane. So he's very defensively sound. He moves his feet very well. He never stops moving in the cage. He's very athletic and very light on his feet for a heavyweight. So, yeah, very good defensively. This is a situation where Gane has to avoid the power of Derrick Lewis, and he does have the makeup and the skill set to be able to do that, potentially for 25 minutes, as we saw him do it against Rosenstruik. Derrick Lewis has been knocked down in the UFC. He's been knocked down in about 0.5% of the significant strikes landed against him. So he's been knocked down twice in 433 significant strikes landed against him. So, 0.15 knockdowns against per 15 minutes. Really, the story here is, Gane's defensive ability, movement, being able to pick apart Derrick Lewis from the outside against Derrick Lewis's patience, waiting to land that one big shot. If you get out, if you get your head out in front of your feet too much, Derrick Lewis can put it into the third row. So it's going to be Gane trying to avoid the big shot, Lewis trying to land the big shot, and that is wherein the challenge lies on what's going to happen with this fight, man. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, what I like about Gane, I mean, considering this matchup, what I like about him is the fact that, he doesn't put himself in much danger. I mean, he's a very smart fighter, and people might say it's like a boring style, but it's definitely effective. I remember a lot of people saying how boring the Jairzinho Rosenstruik fight was, and yeah, sure it was, but man, Gane's fighting smart. He's going up against a guy that hits like a truck. And Rosenstruik, and what is he doing? He's dancing around for 25 minutes. He outlands him in every single round, outlands him 102 to 42 in significant strikes. Outlanded him 10-8 in the first round, 23-6 in the second round, 29-13 in the third round, 29-10 in the fourth round, 11-5 in the fifth round. It's not a performance that's really going to make you say, oh my gosh, wow. But it's a very smart performance. It's a very smart way to fight, especially against Derrick Lewis. I think he's going to want to do the exact same thing as he did in the Rosenstruik fight. Stick and move, use his quickness, use his athleticism, stay on the outside. We're going to be back in the bigger cage as well, which I do think does favor Cyril Gane. And you mentioned he needs to avoid that big power shot of Derrick Lewis. And what I like about Gane is he doesn't really put himself in a ton of bad spots. He doesn't really put himself in position to really, take a big bomb from Derrick Lewis. And, Derrick Lewis is going to have 25 minutes to land that big shot. But if not, man, Gane's going to look like a huge, huge favorite. And you can never count out Derrick Lewis. I mean, like I said, he can knock out anybody in the division on any given night. But I just think it's going to be very, very hard to do that against somebody as fast as Gane, as somebody as athletic, as young, as mobile as Gane. I think he's going to give Lewis a ton of problems. And, we haven't even talked about the ground game yet. And I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on that and see the stats on that as well.
Yeah, and before we get to the ground game, I also want to mention that Derrick Lewis has been hurt to the body a couple times. I mean, Yep. He's almost been finished to the body by Junior Dos Santos, and when Travis Brown hit him to the body, man, he nearly shit himself. You remember that, dude? Remember we went over and I had to boo-boo? I mean, Derrick Lewis is constant entertainment. I love watching this guy fight. But yeah, Gane does have great kicks, and he could potentially, not even have to go after the head of Derrick Lewis. He could hurt him to the body, to the legs as well. But if we look at the grappling statistics here, we see Derrick Lewis has 26 takedown attempts in 21 fights. He's gotten 7 of them, about 27% accuracy. Gane has attempted 23 takedowns in 6 fights. He's gotten only 5 of them for a 21% accuracy. So, while these guys do attempt to wrestle, I mean, Gane about 4 takedown attempts per fight, Lewis about 1.25 per fight. They're both, getting them at a less than a 30% clip. they're both averaging less than 1 takedown per 15 minutes. So while Gane is a little more willing to wrestle, he's not an effective wrestler. He's not an efficient wrestler, only getting 5 takedowns in 6 fights and only 8.79% control time off of those 5 takedowns. What's interesting is Derrick Lewis, on those 7 takedowns that he's gotten 14% control time in a much bigger sample size of fights. So 7 takedowns in 21 fights translates to 14% control time for Lewis, while 5 takedowns in 6 fights only is translating to 8% control time for Gane. So, but Gane, on the other hand, when we're talking about takedown defense, has 100% takedown defense, but he's only had 3 takedowns attempted against him. So it's not like, we've seen anybody actively try to wrestle this guy. And he's fought 91 minutes in the cage and only faced 3 takedown attempts. So, part of it is that people haven't tried to wrestle him. And part of it is that he's so athletic and he moves so well, it's probably difficult to even get a decent takedown attempt against somebody that's that athletic and moves that well in the heavyweight division. And I mean, we see the control time less than 1%. As a matter of fact, it's 0.05 of 1% is the amount of time that Ciryl Gane has been controlled in the cage. So I think it's something like 3 seconds. It's something very, very small. While Derrick Lewis has been controlled. So Derrick Lewis, in the 21 fights that he's had in the UFC, has had 77 takedowns attempted against him. So over 3 per fight. And he's had 35 of them landed. So the takedown defense is less than 55% for Derrick Lewis. He's been taken down 2.62 times per 15 minutes, and he's been controlled almost 30% of his UFC career. So even though Gane is very low percentage with the takedowns, if he chooses to shoot in, and if he does do that, he needs to tread lightly. Just ask Curtis Blades, So that's something that it's a dangerous, it's a dangerous thing to do if you're not an efficient wrestler. If you're not accurate with your takedowns, shooting in on Derrick Lewis can be a very dangerous thing to do. So I don't know if Gane's going to do that. I don't know how much he's going to commit to a wrestling heavy game plan against a heavy hitter like Derrick Lewis in a 5-round fight where you really do need to kind of save that gas tank. So, yeah, Gane 100% takedown defense, but very low takedown accuracy. But Derrick Lewis has shown a propensity to be taken down easily and to be controlled at almost 30% of his UFC cage time. So, yeah, it's interesting to think and talk about how much wrestling might happen in this fight, because it probably isn't going to just take place all on the feet, even though 90% of Gane's fights have. Almost half of Derrick Lewis's fights have taken place in control time positions. So it might be difficult to have that much of the fight take place in the center of the cage for Gane. I just don't know how much he's going to want to wrestle here. What do you think? Do you think Gane's going to go to the wrestling at all against Lewis?
That's an interesting question, because if he wants to, I think he will have a ton of success. You mentioned the really, terrible takedown defense of Derrick Lewis sitting at 54%. If guys want to take him down, typically they are able to get him down. Oleinik got him down once. Ilir Latifi got him down 3 times. Blagoy Ivanov got him down 3 times. Daniel Cormier 4 times. Volkov got him down. Tybura got him down. Shamil Abdurakhimov got him down. Roy Nelson. It goes on and on and on. If you want to get Derrick Lewis down, you can. But yeah, you mentioned does Gane really need to take him down? I think he'll have success, but I think his game plan might be just to stick and move for 25 minutes. Sure, if he can go in for a takedown here or there, but yeah, got to be careful. We saw what he did to Curtis Blades, but yeah, the takedowns will be there all night if he does want them, but I don't really think he needs them, to be honest, to win this fight. I think he can win this fight just 25 minutes on the feet, but if you want to take him down, go for it. Maybe he's able to, have success in that area. I do think he will personally, but does he really need to is the question. So I do personally think this is probably going to stay on the feet for the majority of the time. Maybe a takedown here or there. But yeah, for Gane, I have a feeling he's probably just going to, stick and move for 25 minutes, maybe find a finish late, but I'm not sure if you go to the wrestling or not. That's a very good question, Weezy.
Yeah, and it's a risky thing to do in a 5-round fight at the heavyweight division because wrestling is exhausting. We've talked about it over and over and over again. Wrestling is absolutely exhausting. So if you want to fight a smart 5-round fight, like we know that Cyril Gane wants to do, and he's shown twice in the past to be able to do against Rosenstruik, against Volkov, just dance around the outside, pick your opponent apart, outstrike them in every round, and cruise to a unanimous decision. But let's look at the strength of schedule here. And, I was kind of expecting to see Lewis with a big advantage here. But in fact, the ratio that I compute has Cyril Gane with a 2.4 ratio and Lewis with a 1.58 ratio. And Lewis's opponents are only slightly more experienced. So even though Gane's only got 6 fights and Lewis has 21, it looks like Gane has been fighting just as tough a competition as Derrick Lewis has. With those wins over Volkov, Rosenstruik, Dos Santos, and even Tanner Boser, all those guys have winning records. But while Derrick Lewis kind of came in crushing some cans, and we'll get into that in a second, but then since then he's been fighting, really the top level of the UFC heavyweight division, but there's been a lot of close fights in there as well. So if we look at the wins, the average record of the guy that Cyril Gane beats is 6 and 2.5, while for Derrick Lewis, it's 5.69 and 3.56. So a better ratio and very similar amount of experience for Gane's wins. So, and then Derrick Lewis's losses, he's been losing to an average record of about 9 and 6 with a 1.55 ratio. But if we go over here to the advanced stats and kind of take a look at Derrick Lewis's resume here, you'll see him, those first 5 wins in the UFC, this was between 2014 and 2016. We got wins against a bunch of cans here in Jack May, Guto Innocent, Juan Potts, remember that dude from South Africa? Victor Pesta and Damian Grabowski, right? To me, bum, tomato can, terrible bum. So, but yeah, if you add up those records of those 5 guys that he beat, they were 2 and 14, so those were his first 5 wins in the UFC. And the losses that came in that period were to legitimate guys like Sean Jordan, 7 and 5 in the UFC, and Matt Mitrione, 9 and 5 in the UFC. And then after that, then we see the level of competition go up. And we see names like Gabriel Gonzaga, Roy Nelson, Abdurakhimov, Travis Brown, Mark Hunt, Tabura, Ngannou, Volkov, Cormier, Dos Santos, Ivanov, Latifi, Olenek, and Blades. That's 16 fights in a row that he's been fighting the top level of competition. But I've got a few fights highlighted here. All of his losses, and the losses came to Junior Dos Santos, Daniel Cormier, Mark Hunt, Sean Jordan, and Matt Mitrione. And then I've also, the Roy Nelson fight was very close. That could have went either way, but Roy Nelson only landed 4 significant strikes, while Lewis landed 37. But Roy Nelson did take him down 7 times and control him for 2/3 of the fight. So, and then also the Abdurakhimov fight, he had trouble in that fight. And that was Abdurakhimov won the first 3 rounds with wrestling. Abdurakhimov took him down 4 times out of 11 attempts. So basically, he's only been knocked down twice in his UFC career, Derrick Lewis has. And he's lost both of those fights. And in the rest of the fights, we see a bunch with the fights where he had trouble fighting against either power punchers like Mark Hunt, Matt Mitrione, Sean Jordan, Ngannou, or Junior Dos Santos, or guys who just committed to the wrestling early and often, like Roy Nelson, like Shamil Abdurakhimov, like Daniel Cormier, and Ilir Latifi. So it's kind of weird how Gane doesn't really fit into either of those categories, being the power puncher or being the guy who commits to the wrestling. But it still seems like this is going to be a very difficult opponent for Derrick Lewis to beat, because he's just not nearly as athletic as Gane. He's not nearly as fast as Gane. And Gane isn't the type of guy that's going to go out there and make the kind of dumb mistake that Derrick Lewis has been capitalizing on in the past. So, the way I'm seeing this, let me just kind of go through my notes here with you and highlight the advantages for each fighter, and then we can kind of figure out who we like here. So for Gane, the advantages I see in the measurables are that he's 5 years younger, he's an inch taller, and he's got a 2-inch reach advantage. He's an equal opportunity, well-rounded winner with equal amounts of win by knockout, submission, and decision. He's got crazy striking ratios, landing 5.13 significant strikes per minute, but only absorbing 2.6, 55% accuracy, 63% striking defense, and about 0.5% knockdowns per total significant strikes landed. He's an active wrestler, but low percentage on takedown attempts. He's never been taken down in the UFC. His opponents are 0 for 3 on takedown attempts, so that's 100% takedown defense. Derrick Lewis, on the other hand, has terrible takedown defense, about 55%, 21 takedowns against in 21 fights, and he's been out-controlled 29% to 14%. So Gane can take him down and control him if he doesn't like how it's going on the feet. Very solid strength of schedule for Gane, despite the fact that he's only got 6 UFC fights, a 2.4 ratio, and an average opponent record of 6 wins and 2.5 losses. Huge athleticism, footwork, and speed advantages for Gane. He fights smart, he doesn't make mistakes, and he's still undefeated. While for Lewis, it's much easier and quicker to go through. 24 more pro fights, 170 more minutes of pro cage time, 8 more years as a pro, 15 more UFC fights, and 100 more minutes of UFC cage time. So Derrick Lewis has got a huge experience advantage. He's got that ridiculous power advantage. 20 out of 25 pro wins by knockout, 12 UFC wins by KO, and a 1.35 knockdowns per total significant strikes landed. Every punch and kick is thrown with bad intentions and full force. And he's got brute strength that makes him almost impossible to hold down when he is taken down, because he can just bench press you off of him when he wants. And if he gets on top of you, his ground pound is absolutely savage. So really, Lewis has the experience advantage, the power advantage, the strength advantage, and then for everything else, it's Gane.
Yep, 100% agree with all your points there for sure. For me, I'll go Gane. I think it's honestly a pretty, I say a pretty easy win for him. And then what do you know? Derrick Lewis lands a big shot. But in all seriousness, like, Gane should win this fight, but Derrick Lewis has surprised me, more than once, more than twice, many times, because I tend to pick against him quite a bit, because there's a lot of things I don't like in his game. I don't think he's the best striker. Don't think he has the best takedown defense, striking defense. Don't think he has the best, really anything, but he has that one thing, and he has that power, and the power is absolutely insane. It's going to win him a ton of fights, and it has as well. So we take a look at the line, and we see that, Ciryl Gane's a big favorite, and honestly, I can't really argue with it. He opened up as a minus 325 favorite, and he's currently minus 350. Derrick Lewis opened up as a plus 275 favorite. He's currently plus 180. I'll tell you what, I'm not betting against Derrick Lewis, because I know that he's always live. He's going to be live for every single second of that fight. I think Gane's going to look like a huge favorite if Derrick Lewis does not find that knockout. But like I said, Derrick Lewis, he can surprise you. He can definitely surprise you. He will have 25 minutes to land that big shot. If Gane makes one little slip up, one little mistake, if he's off by 1 inch and Derrick Lewis lands a hard shot, that could be it. So I don't know if I'm going to really mess around with that money line of Gane at minus 350, to be honest. I might just sit back and watch it. As far as the fight doesn't go to decisions and the over-unders, we'll also take a look at some other props that are out as well. So they set the over-under at 4.5 rounds. The under is minus 185, and the over is plus 155. I kind of struggle with that, because I can see a situation where Gane does catch him at some point. We talked about how Derrick Lewis has been finished in every single UFC loss. But on the flip side, I can see a scenario where Gane, plays it safe for 25 minutes, outpoints Derrick Lewis, landing a little bit each every round and just outpointing him to a decision. I can see that as well. So kind of struggling with the over-under. Minus 185 as well. Don't know if I'll pay that price tag. The fight doesn't go to decision, is minus 195. We'll take a look. Gane wins by KO is plus 125. Gane wins by submission plus 1,000. Lewis wins inside the distance is plus 385. Lewis by decision, it's not going to happen, but plus 900, plus 1,100. What's Lewis by knockout? Lewis by knockout is not showing up, but you got to assume it's around like the plus 400 range. So yeah, if you want to bet Lewis, you probably bet him by knockout. Uncle Weezy, anything sticking out to you? The money line sticking out to you, or are you just going to sit back and watch this fight?
Yeah, the over-under not really sticking out to me either way because, even though Lewis has been finished in all of his losses, you could easily see a situation where Gane does exactly what he did to Volkov and Rosenstrike here, but Lewis has never been the full 5 rounds. So, I could also see a late finish, but yeah, man, this is really hard. I mean, if Lewis by KO is plus 450 or plus 500, it's worth a sprinkle because that's how he wins. And like I say, dude, even when Dos Santos did a spinning back kick, it hit Lewis right in the gut. You could tell the fight was basically over right there if Dos Santos rushed in. And Dos Santos did rush in. And, man, Lewis threw a huge haymaker while he was hurt. He was still dangerous while he was hurt. And if he had landed that punch, he would have won the fight. It was crazy, dude. So Lewis is even dangerous when he gets hurt. Yeah, dude, I think I would just bet Lewis by KO because if he wins this fight, it's by KO. The line is just too wide on Gane. Unless you're throwing him in a parlay or something like that, there just doesn't seem to be a lot of value there. And I think that Gane could win by knockout. I think he could win by decision. You could see a number of different ways that he could win. We talked about how he's an equal opportunity winner. Equal amounts of each of his wins have come by decision, knockout, and submission. And what's concerning about that is the decisions are coming in 5-round fights and the finishes are coming in 3-round fights. So it's unpredictable how he's going to finish the fight. So I think the best bet is Derrick Lewis by KO because it probably has the most value, just like it did last time against Blades. That being said, I think Ciryl Gane wins this fight and probably cruises here.
Yeah, I'm with you there as well. Yeah, I don't like the money line. I think in hindsight, when the fight's over, he's probably going to look like a minus 1,000 favorite. But, Derrick Lewis is always live for that KO. So if you do like Lewis, probably the KO prop is the way to go. I'm probably going to sit back and watch this one from a fan standpoint. I don't really see myself putting money on it. Like even the props, like you said, it could be hard to decide because, Gane can win by knockout, decision, submission. Hard to pick a prop. But yeah, I think Gane's going to win. I think he's going to make it look pretty easy outside of, potentially getting clipped, but I just don't think he's going to give, Lewis much opportunities to do so. So that's about it. We broke it all down. Both of us are going with Ciryl Gane. If you guys can please leave a like on the video if you do enjoy the content me, Uncle Weezy, are bringing. Also tune in to my full card breakdown and prediction video that's going to be out on Tuesday morning, live stream Friday and Saturday as well. Lots of stuff going on for a very, very big card. I'll kick it over to Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, let them know where they can find you and what you have going on throughout the pay-per-view week.
Check me out on Twitter at MMA Weezy, and then check me out on my YouTube channel that's Uncle Weezy. I'll be doing balls deep breakdowns, going deep just like we did on this fight. Be going balls deep into the stats on several of these fights this week, at least 3 to 4 of them. And if you have any particular fights that you'd like me to go balls deep on this week, just send me a DM on Twitter or tag me in a tweet, and I will try to do that for you. Thanks, you guys, for watching. Thanks for having me on your show again, Brady. I appreciate it. And good luck to everybody on UFC 265 this week. Let's make some money.
Let's do it. All right, guys. See ya. Good luck for this pay-per-view card, and let's make some money.